Fuck me. Hello everyone, welcome, my name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Filmmaking. Obsession, 2026, Curry Barker. A man by the name of Baron, known as Bear to his friends, has developed feelings for his best friend Nikki. However, Bear struggles to articulate and express his feelings to her. Having bought a seemingly innocuous toy called a One-Wish Willow, Bear makes a wish that Nikki fall absolutely head over heels in love with him. Bear's wish seemingly comes true and the two become inseparable. However, Bear's wish becomes more than he bargained for, and Bear must find a way out of this situation before all is lost. The initial teaser for this film that was shown in theaters hooked me on checking this film out. But after hearing the reviews, I became genuinely curious about how this film would turn out. Suffice it to say, those reviews that were coming out were all hitting it on the fucking money. Man, oh man, what a fucking horror movie. Director Curry Barker, who's a YouTuber who was part of the sketch comedy duo That's a Bad Idea, has joined the likes of Raka Raka, Markiplier, and Kane Pixels down the YouTuber turned actual director pipeline. But in working with DP Taylor Clemens and editing this picture himself, Barker shows that he might just be a cut above all these cats. Shooting the movie digitally but making it look like film in post, I honestly just thought he was shooting on 35mm. Those little specks and film burns, even if they are just post-production add-ins, look like the real thing. But in terms of pure cinematography and editing, Barker and his team crafted something really strong. Shot in one by one, every frame of this film was blocked so precisely and purposefully. The way lighting was used was so intentional to show that the female lead was not in her right mind. Every single cut in this film was crafted with the express purpose of making you uncomfortable. I mean, the entire scene with Nikki being a psycho in his bedroom was pitch perfect in terms of framing, lighting, and editing for tension and scares. The reveal of the duct tape door was brilliantly built up to in terms of blocking and editing. Audio, I think, is the biggest component of why this film works. In tandem with the brilliant score by Rock Burwell, every sound in this film was just so brilliantly captured. The synth compositions in this film ebb and flow with the film so beautifully. Just before the montage of Nikki and Bear being a new couple, the synth music is light, but when the montage starts, it goes into this full indie synth pop beat. But when the film is ready to unnerve you, the pieces become droning, discordant, and unsettling. But before we move on, I have to give my first shout to Indy Navarrete. This girl can fucking scream. The audio mix was so good that these screams were not peaking the mics, and on top of that, there was such a great awareness of space that the audio team showed. I loved when Bear was trying to talk about going to a party with just the boys. Nikki's shrieking was muffled the perfect amount by the bathroom door. It was just enough for it not to be artificially loud, but enough to be like bone-chilling. Production design-wise, this team was operating on a budget of about $750,000. And let me fucking tell you, like, they made their money back and then some with this fucking movie. Holy shit. But, like, Barker and his team really did wonders with what they had. There wasn't too much fancy stuff going on with the sets, just a few houses and a place they gussied up to look like a music store. All of which was in LA. Actually, I think the music store was a music store. But it, like, shut down, like, sometime before production. So, yeah. Anyways, man. But, seriously, the makeup and the gore was well beyond what a film of this budget should be doing. Nikki fucking pissing and shitting herself, the dead cat, all done with incredible practicality and care. The gashes and wounds on Nikki all look superb, but man, Sarah getting her head caved in by a brick like it had to be cut down to avoid an NC-17 rating, but it was still like gnarly as fuck. That was a wonderful bit of business, and the way that effect gets reincorporated was fucking bonkers. Writing-wise, Curry Barker really outdid himself with this script. Firstly, I was a really big fan of how the spooky bullshit in this film was cleverly used, and its rules were comprehensible and logical, but also vague enough to spook ya. The One Wish Willow, whatever it does something to human beings, and whatever it is, it ain't pleasant, as evidenced by the phone call Bear has with the customer service dude. Secondly, the film is just so layered in terms of character development and themes. It is this all too relevant tale of modern masculinity, relationships, and mental illness. What is essentially just a 4-person cast, they all have such riveting and interesting character dynamics that really resonate with the modern social landscape. But to get to our cast, man, the star of this show, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is Indy Navarrete as Nikki, or whatever Nikki becomes. I mentioned that she is a literal scream queen earlier, but this girl just commits to this bit 110%. The faces she can make rode that fine line of being not so exaggerated they are comedic, but exaggerated enough they are unsettling. Not only is her physicality incredible, but her emotional range is brilliant. Like everything she does in this film is emotional stalker abuse 101. Like, the entire restaurant sequence where she gets caught in a lie and starts making a public scene to get Bear to give in to her was so uncomfortable. Joining her is Michael Johnston in the role of Bear. Like, this man is the perfect foil for Indy. He presents this guy like such an awkward little man, but even when he becomes a victim in this story, he never loses the awkward core of this character. The scene where actual Nikki breaks through for a moment and he starts asking the most bitch-made, forever alone questions was golden. He was an excellent horror protagonist, the final boy if you want to call him that, and he was brilliant. Cooper Tomlinson and Megan Lawless were good in this film as well, do not get me wrong. They played off Indy and Mike excellently and their characters were cool. Also, Andy Richter was here as well. Neat. But it was Indy and Mike who just carried this film. Man, like, Curry Barker might be my favorite YouTuber turned director. If he continues to make movies like Obsession, then this man has a bright future ahead of him. An incredibly entertaining, unsettling, and timely horror film that is expertly crafted in every regard, brilliantly written, and features a career-defining performance by Indy Navarrete. Possibly one of my favorite horror movies of this decade, with potential for it being locked in as like my favorite movie of 2026, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Oh my god. Still, Obsession is one I look forward to seeing again, and if you haven't seen it yet, then like you know the deal. Watch this fucking movie. And you know what it is. 10 out of 10. Catch you later, guys.